Hello, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of A Needle in a Haystack, a behind-the-scenes account of a mucosal melanoma survivor. I'm Chris White, mucosal melanoma survivor, thriver, advocate, inspirational speaker, and self-published author of Killing Cancer with Tills. Y'all know the drills. Real quick disclaimer. I am not a medical expert. I am only an expert on my story and my own experience. If you need any assistance or medical care, please seek out your care team. All right. We are now on episode 12. Picking up after episode 11, I had just got done with my appointment down in Houston with my medical oncology specialist. Turns out I am still continuing to metastasize, and we need to put the brakes on everything. My last scan reports had shown that I had innumerable amount of tumors within not only my lungs, liver, lymph nodes, but is now, upon the neoplasms abutting up against my kidneys, basically everywhere. It's getting out of control. So the original game plan when I metastasized was to go on combination immunotherapy, which I had done 2 cycles of in December, but immunotherapy is the long run game, and so we had to go to our backup plan to put immediate brakes on it, and that's why we went to chemotherapy plus Keytruda. Now, he had told me from the get-go that this is just a short-term plan to get everything under control. We had to decrease the tumors so we could get back to something that would be more permanent, as in immunotherapies or other sort of clinical trials. We had went over and discussed that I had a gene mutation of a CDK4 with an MDM2 amplification, and we would look further into seeing what would happen over the next scan. But, every 6 weeks or less, I was doing my follow-ups and checkups and trying to stay ahead of everything. So anyways, if this is your first time tuning in, I encourage you to please go back to the beginning to catch up till here, but welcome to episode 12. Let's get going. All right, so it's January 10th. I got my news about my scans. I had innumerable amounts in my lungs. Things were getting out of control. We had to put the brakes on everything. So switching it up from the original plan, going from combination immunotherapy to chemotherapy plus Keytruda. Now, the chemotherapy is called CVD. It consists of 3 separate chemotherapies, which I would do 1 per day. So, for example, on a Monday, I would do cisplatin. The second day, I would do vinblastine. And then the third day, dacarbazine. And then the next Monday would be, Keytruda. But the chemotherapy would have been every 3 weeks, and the Keytruda on the off week. But during this time in 2019, it was not an FDA approved regimen to be able to do chemotherapy or this specific chemotherapy in conjunction with Keytruda for someone with my disease. So as we're driving home, call up my oncologist locally in North Dallas, let her know, hey, I'm still coming in, next week to do my treatment, but instead of doing immunotherapy, we got to switch it to this specific chemotherapy. She said, that's all good, but what we are going to have to do is get a port put in for you. I know that MD Anderson, was not in favor of this, but I'm the one that's giving you all the treatments, and you're going to be in here quite a bit. So I was actually able to get on schedule for the next day, which was Friday, January 11th, to get my port put in. And it was a pretty easy procedure. I was in and out that same day. I did have to go under anesthesia for it. It's all good. No problems or anything like that. Got me a nice little nap, rested over the weekend. And then the following Monday, I was able to start my treatment. All right, so Monday, January 14th, I went in for my first day of chemotherapy. My oncologist told me up front, look, we know this is not an FDA-approved regimen at the moment, but we do not need prior authorization to give you Keytruda, so we can give you this first dose, but when we go to put in the orders for your second time, they most likely are going to say no, and they did. Also, during this week when I was going in for my first week of chemotherapy, my mother was with me and brought up some concerns that she had with my oncologist in regards to the pain medications and the amount of pain I was having. Um, but my oncologist, told my mother, told myself, kind of, reminded us, hey, you have terminal metastatic cancer. It has riddled your body everywhere. You have to stay ahead of the pain. Here's the thing, I totally get your concerns. They're legit. But if he does not stay ahead of the pain, he will always be trying to chase it and catch up and will be miserable. I understand that, yeah, it's, an extreme regimen, and there's concerns of, addiction, overdose, all this stuff. But, if and when he makes it, we can unaddict him. We also went through and double checked on the regimen that had to do with doing chemotherapy and Keytruda at the same time, because initially, back when this all got started, before I started doing systemic treatments, we were first meeting with the specialist. He had mentioned to us the original game plan was, before I knew I was stage 4, my treatment plan post radiation would be doing CVD chemo plus Keytruda. Now, now that we are back to that plan, we are, discovering that no, it's not an approved treatment. And so we're just trying to get verification through both oncology teams and insurance, because for me, I'm trying to get everything that I can get because I want to beat this beast. Now, as you can see on some of the notes that my mom had put in her journal, she had put down here that, we even inquired about doing a cash payment option, but that would not fly because, one, not everybody can afford that, and there's just regulations against it, and it could be considered fraudulent. She could lose her license. But we did ask the question. We were trying to figure out, hey, I'm trying to do everything I can. They're prescribing it. What can we do? But you know what? We just went with the flow and did what we could. All right, so from January 14th through 17th, I did my first cycle of CVD. Following week, I did my 1 dose of Keytruda. I went back and did my second cycle of CVD chemotherapy on February 4th through 6th. And then I had a follow-up appointment with my specialist down in Houston on February 21st and 22nd. So in between my follow-up appointments with the specialist down in Houston from January 10th until February 21st, a lot was going on. I'd finished moving out of my apartment into my mom's. I was eating extremely well, sleeping very well. I was gaining a lot of weight because of all that. I'd cut out drinking soda, alcohol, processed foods. I was definitely feeling pretty solid. I was going to my niece's cheerleading competitions, continuing to go, shoot my pistols and things, doing family things, my nephew's birthday party, dinner, anything I could, to be engaged and, to keep moving. I was still working in between these days. So every day that I had these treatments, it was either first thing in the morning or last thing in the afternoon. And that way I could still work throughout the day. Now, thinking back on it, would I still have continued to do that? Maybe, probably, but I would probably not have done it so intensely. I was in the new home construction field and things were extremely busy, and I was eager to keep my mind off of things. Anyways, so let's read over my scan reports and my results from my trip down to Houston to see the specialist on February 21st. For this visit, I did no ultrasound, but I did do, again, a brain MRI with and without contrast, and a CT of the chest, abdomen, pelvis with and without contrast. Check it out. All right, first up, I'm going to read the MRI report. MRI with and without contrast, February 21st, 2019. Restaging, they are comparing this to the prior brain MRI done on January 10th. Findings: imaging is degraded by motion and pulsation artifacts. There are no measurable enhancing parenchymal lesions to suggest metastasis. The ventricles are stable in size and within the midline. There is mild degree of periventricular and subcortical white matter T2 hyperintensity. There are no areas of restricted diffusion or large volume hemorrhage. The calvarial signal is non-focal. There is no epidural mass. So that's good news. Once again, sorry if I butchered any of the verbiage. All right, and these are the results of my CT of the chest, abdomen, and pelvis. This is also compared to the prior scan done on January 10th, 2019. Impression: except for one right upper lobe lung nodule, there is improvement in the bilateral pulmonary metastatic disease. New left internal mammary lymph node. Mixed response to therapy, mediastinal and hilar edempathy. 4 improved abdominal metastatic disease. So it goes down through the narrative, the full result. Once again, indication this is another restaging scan. All right, so first up, chest. Except for the lung nodule in the right upper lobe is seen on 43 of series 4, where it is measuring 24 by 18 millimeters compared to 22 by 16 millimeters. The rest of bilateral pulmonary nodules are smaller and marked on the image in series 4. Now, as we scroll through series 4, if you want to pause it, and kind of look through it, the little black arrows are showing all the spots of metastasis. I believe I actually counted, like I said, close to 40 some odd spots just in the lungs. No new lung nodules or pleural effusions are present. On image 33 of series 3, there is a new 13 millimeter left internal mammary lymph node. A mixed response to therapy is present involving the mediastinal and hilar edempathy is seen series 3. On image 46, the dominant mediastinal lymph node is 20 by 17 millimeters compared to 23 by 14 millimeters. On image 47, the left paratracheal lymph node is 19 by 16 millimeters compared to 15 by 14 millimeters. On image 61, the left hilar lymph node is 16 by 15 millimeters compared to 13 by 13 millimeters. On image 64, the subcarinal lymph node is 27 by 17 millimeters compared to 27 by 18 millimeters. The other multiple lymph nodes in the mediastinum are stable to borderline enlarged as the left hilar lymph node. No axillary edempathy is seen. The left central line is in the superior vena cava. No suspicious bone lesions are present. Abdomen and pelvis. Improved metastatic disease is present in the abdomen as seen on series 3. On image 189, the lesion in the right liver is 44 by 41 millimeters compared to 64 by 53 millimeters and more necrotic in appearance. Again, that's what it says. On image 208, the peritoneal implant at the lower pole of the spleen is 5 millimeters compared to 12 millimeters. That's good. On image 224, the juxtahepatic implant involving the right liver is 14 by 10 millimeters compared to 15 by 14 millimeters. The right retroperitoneal mass is contiguous with the right renal capsule is 70 by 59 millimeters compared to 61 by 56 millimeters and is more necrotic and likely accounts for the larger size. Wow. No new hepatic lesion or biliary ductal dilation are present. The gallbladder appears normal. The spleen, pancreas, and adrenal glands appear normal. The kidneys demonstrate function without mass or hydrophenosis. Postoperative changes are present in the right groin. No suspicious bone lesions are seen.